If you're not positioning annuities for guaranteed lifetime income and you are positioning annuities for accumulation, you're missing out on a lot of opportunity. Welcome back to Seven Figure Annuity Sales. It's Caleb North here with Chad Owen. We're talking today about annuities for income versus accumulation. And I tell you, this is one that's near and dear to both of our hearts because, well, Chad, quite frankly, for you, as much as you sell income products now, FIAs with income riders now, you were a tough ship to turn back in the early 2000s when they started rolling out, weren't you?
Yeah, it was because it sounded too good to be true. I mean, that's the reality. If I'm going to be bluntly honest about it, that's exactly what it sounded to me. I'm like going, come on, how's this possible? Because I already knew about obviously immediate annuities and annuitization, but when these companies tell me how they can do the 10% bonuses, well, actually at one time it was a 12% bonus and 8% compounded roll-up rate for 20 years. I was like, now, granted, your death benefit is gone in 10 to 15 years, but the reality is even with that, I was like, there's no way. And now I have clients literally that have been living off of that, and they are so over the top happy. And I mean, I have one guy that retired at 55 years old, and we had to do a transitional annuity to get him to age 59 and a half. But this guy literally, his number one thing is golfing around the world. He just travels the world and golfs. That's what he does. And he's been able to do that from a very young age. I actually need to give him a call because now that I'm back in Colorado, this is where he is. But, it's just so great to see that. So yeah, it took me a while to do that. But now try and convince me otherwise that they're not one of the best products that are out there.
Yeah.
I will die on this mountain and I will argue anybody all day long that tries to tell me their indexed annuity is better than an income annuity when there is an income need. And then I'll go even farther to say along the lines there's not an income need. Then you're generally most of the time not doing a complete fact finder, because I know the number of clients I get in touch with is usually way more than most people. I'm running anywhere from 10 to 15 appointments a week. So I'm talking to a lot of people. An income need, if you do your fact finder right, is almost always a concern of some shape or another.
Yeah.
Whether they have a pension, they have their Social Security, whatever it is, if the spouse passes away, the lower of the two Social Securities goes away. A lot of these pensions, they go 50% or they completely go away. We have inflation. We have other things. And we also have to understand, and I know you might be getting to this, but income isn't necessarily just for income. It could be for legacy. It could be for vacations. It could be for grandkids' college. It could be for, whatever. I have people that did income on an annuity, and because I lived in Texas, what the property taxes are like there. Their income off that annuity, the sole purpose of that was to pay property tax. So, there's all sorts of reasons, but you know what, when we keep doing these hypothetical scenarios off of these and try and get guarantees, when you talk about index strategies, that often can be challenging if we don't do it right and we don't talk with our clients every single year and help them navigate through what index is the best to pick. See, now you've got me triggered.
Chad's all riled up.
because the reality is, most agents, it's either because they're lazy, they don't want to understand how the income part of it works, or they want that new business in 5, 7, or 10 years. And they know if they get an income rider on that, they'll never have any more business from that client again for that particular money. And to me, it's not my money, it's a client's money. So I'm going to do whatever's best. And I had somebody tell me one time, an agent goes, well, you just do the income rider because it's better for you. Tell me how that's better for me. I have no more future business ever for that money again. Tell me how that's better for me. And they couldn't. And then they started to go, well, you're right. I said, why'd you do the indexed annuity? And it turns out they didn't even understand the concept of the income side of the annuity, and they didn't understand what products were available out of this. So that's lazy. And so that is what it comes down to. There is no excuse for not learning in today's age. We have so many ways we can learn. And when we understand what is good for our clients, and that goes back to the two questions we've talked about many times before: how long are you going to live for, and where's the stock market going to be tomorrow, let alone 5 or 10 years from now? When you have that, there is only one product that can do that.
Yeah, you're so right. And I think part of it, Chad, is the way that agents go about asking questions, right? You made the comment they're probably not doing full fact finding. And I bet you there's listeners that are saying, no, I do full fact finding, but I don't see clients that are asking for income. And my argument is that's exactly why you don't see people asking for income, is because you're asking, do they want income or do they want accumulation? If you ask the question, is this a plan for living or a plan for dying? All of a sudden you turn up a ton of cases that are all about a plan for living. Well, what is a plan for living? They're going to use that money to live on. If you ask somebody that doesn't understand how income works in annuity products, do you want income or accumulation? They're, for the last 40 years, been trained. They're all about accumulation, growth, growth, because they've spent 4 decades in the accumulation phase of retirement planning. Now they're in distribution. If you ask them, you want income or growth, they're going to say growth. Why? Because they think that their income is dependent upon the growth. They think that if I can go average 8% a year, then I can make my 4% withdrawals. Well, okay, great. But that's not the way that income needs to work in annuity products.
That's the same guy that told you he wouldn't take $1 billion as 0% interest, and he.
There is a well-known individual that says you can draw 8% out of your because the average is 10. Okay, I'm just going to say, if you know what we're talking about, then props to you. If you don't, okay, you can look it up.
It rhymes with Hamzy.
The annualized average return of the S&P 500 over the last decade is a hair over 10% compounded. The annualized return of the S&P 500 since the turn of the century is a hair over 4.3. But his argument is you can take 8% out of your investment portfolio per year because it averages 10. That's insane because it has no consideration for the down years. It's not saying you get 10 every year and then.
And if we take another 50% drop, I know. See, you said I was a little tired, but now I'm not, man. Now I'm getting wired. Because if we have another 50% drop, which we know we will, we don't know when. I mean, every economist right now has speculated that we should have catastrophic drops already. And if we'd stop stinking printing money and propping the market back up, the government I said this in one of my radio shows, the government does not make money. It takes money. That's the reality. It takes taxes. And the only way they pay anything is through what it took from us. That's a fact. I mean, find me proof that contradicts what I'm talking about. So when you take money from other people and then you print money we don't have, this current administration got and said, well, I saved us $1 trillion. You were spending, the goal was to spend $8 trillion more than what we had. We still spent $7 trillion more than what we had. You didn't save us $1 trillion. You spent $7 trillion more than what we have. And you wonder why the stock market keeps going up and these billionaires become uber billionaires and these big institutions get bigger and bigger because they're the ones that get that money, not us. So, okay. Yeah. Done with the rant.
I have another argument for the...
I'm going to test my pulse right now. So you got to watch this on YouTube, man. Wait. I need to watch the nurse come flying in here, put the blood pressure cuff on. Calm down now. Calm down. No, okay. I'm not going to calm down. Do you remember? You're way, 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 way too young for this. And so am I. Do you remember why the Boston Tea Party started? Like what that big upheaval was?
It was over taxation. It was over.
And how much was it?
It was like 1% or 3 or something.
It was
tiny.
It was a fractional amount, and that all started.
Yeah.
You know what? We need to do another Boston Tea Party, man. I might be in trouble here, but we might need to do that.
Yeah. If Chad's not with us anymore, we know why.
Well, my office. I could do things if I needed
to. Look behind you.
These are the
That's the
archaic
decor.
weapons. These are the old school, man.
Yeah.
This is. I mean, if you look what's in front of me, there's a lot of ways we could start a movement.
I have a logical argument.
I'm not calling. Let's just be specific. Right. I'm not calling because we saw someone try and tell people to calm down, don't do anything, and then he's being accused of starting a riot. So I'm telling everybody, calm down. Don't go kill anybody. Don't go cause any riots. We'll do this peacefully. Okay.
So I have
peaceful. The 1 million person annuity march, Washington. Let's do it.
All right. You say the
Okay.
date and time,
Go
and we'll
ahead.
be there. Um,
No, we
have a
won't.
logical argument for income products versus just using it for accumulation. Okay. And it comes down
Okay.
to, why do retirees buy accumulation products, and what are the alternatives? So if you think about it,
Yeah.
historically, annuities have been used by financial advisors, brokers, whatever, as bond replacements, right? So bond alternatives. So to that point, bonds are an alternative option to an indexed annuity that's just being used for accumulation. Now, I have my preferences. I think we all have our preferences on what would actually be used in that. Point being, for accumulation or protection and still some upside, there are alternatives. What else out there can create guaranteed lifetime income, regardless of how long you live and regardless of what kind of performance you get in the portfolio itself, outside of an indexed annuity with an income rider, and still maintains
So it's
control of that
interesting.
account?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I have a lot of agents ask me, how do I get people off the fence? By telling them there's nothing else out there to do what this does and prove it with your knowledge.
There's not.
I mean, that's the
Yeah.
reality. Because a lot of times why people are on the fence is they think there's something better out there that will do something that they want. And most people, 80% of clients, have an income need of some sort. Prove me wrong,
Yeah.
because you can't. I mean, when you talk about inflation, things costing more, you're living too long, whatever it is. Well, you can't live too long. You can outlive your money, but I
Sure.
mean, and then we have, this can be sensitive subject, but we have people living miserably longer too. They're literally existing in their house just collecting money because they don't have the
Yeah.
physical ability to do anything, but it still requires money coming in.
Yep.
And so we have to look at that. We have to really step in the gap for these people that don't understand what true retirement is. They've got this painted fantasy that their brokers talk them about, are these dumb talking heads about pulling out 8% of your money.
Yep.
I mean, the reality is, instead of, if you have $1 million, you can pull out 8% of your money, which is $80,000 a year, when the real number is closer to 3%, which is $30,000 a year. That's a $50,000 difference that these talking heads are trying to convince people they can do. And they have this pie in the sky. And honestly, I am very concerned about what the retirement situation is going to look like in future generations. When you talk about half the people that call on my radio show are 55 years old thinking of starting a retirement, and that's the more affluent clientele. And then you start to think about 50% of people, actual retirees, don't even have $1,000 in the bank.
Yep.
I mean, this is problem, man. This is a serious concern. And we always know Social Security is about 2 to 3% behind actual inflation. So when we're looking at that, I mean, we need to help. We need to be direct. It's not being rude. It's not being, disrespectful. It's being blunt and honest.
Yep.
And that's what we have to do. This is my truth. Okay. This is what I'm feeling. Okay. Boy, I'm triggering a lot of things right
You
now.
sure are. I had a conversation, Chad, just a few weeks ago with an internal wholesaler at an insurance company, and they were asking me about the ratio of business at Retirement Realized Financial. What are our agents producing? And I said, man, 80 to 85% is indexed annuity with income riders.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, wow. Because when you look at 2023, and he was asking specifically about 2023 because rates were so high. And you look at 2023, agents who primarily sell indexed annuities for protection and growth were selling MIGAs like crazy. So that hurts the agent. And then the client's going to have to renew and buy some new policy in 3, 5, 7, 10 years, right? And rates are not going to be what they were, almost certainly, in 2023. But your income products were really, really great. And because we train agents to approach the question thing a little bit differently and ask, is it a plan for living versus a plan for dying? Our agents maintained 80 to 85% of production as FIAs, 10-year indexed annuities, with income riders. And clients were doing great for it. And they're getting exactly what they need.
And I did have clients go, well, man, I missed out on that 20% gain in 2023. I said, yeah, how much did you lose in 2022? Nothing. Oh, how much did your income roll-up rate go up? Oh, well, and then that's why clients just don't get mad.
Yep.
I mean, I have very, very happy clients,
Yep.
and that's how I choose to keep it.
Sometimes agents will say, "Oh, I won't, use income products because of the fee," or "Oh, I want my clients to get the maximum rate of return," or whatever. And to me, it's just not thinking through
Okay,
all the
wait.
things.
If they want to get the maximum amount of return, then get them out of the annuity and go play the stock market.
Well, even then, though, it's like everything's limited, because as soon as you get a 24% return, you could have a 25% drop. So it's all internally limited.
So I thought NVIDIA did incredible. I had like a 2,000% return or something. There were multiple other stocks that had higher returns than that over the past 5 years.
Yeah. Maximum return means your money is 100% into the single holding, the best position. Yes. That, and then you get it at the perfect low and the perfect high without any discrepancy. It's a whole fallacy. But point being, a lot of times agents will say that. And my argument to that is you're only looking at one type of return. You're looking at interest rate of return, but there's a thing called internal rate of return, which is the idea that if a client starts an annuity with $200,000 and 20 years later, 25 years later, they've taken out $500,000 worth of income. Well, they've had what would that be? A 150% growth rate. They've literally
150%.
Yeah. Think about that. That's an internal rate of return. That's not an interest rate of return. They didn't see that go to their account value, but they benefited from it. So you need to look at both the internal rate of return and the possible interest rate of return. And in indexed annuities with income riders, you can benefit from both. Whereas when you're playing a market or whatever, or just dealing with an indexed annuity without an income rider, you are explicitly trying to obtain an interest rate of return.
Well, thank you for raising my blood pressure. Now I'm going to have to go relax in the sauna for a little bit. So
good luck.
Yeah, have a great day. Happy selling.